It's unfortunate but not uncommon for a young person to become a criminal. However, among the numerous juvenile crime cases, there aren't many that leave such a bad aftertaste as this one. This time, we're dealing with a heinous serial murder case committed by 3 boys who thought they'd be safe because of the juvenile law. The boys have been arrested and punished. The verdict pertains to the Osaka, Aichi, Gifu serial lynching murder case. From September 28th to October 7th, 1994, 3 consecutive murders occurred, claiming the precious lives of 4 people in total. This case is known by the locations of the incidents: the Osaka case, Tokigawa case, and Nagara River case. Here's an overview of each incident. On September 28th, a 26-year-old man was lynched to death by a group in Osaka Prefecture. His body was later found abandoned in the mountains of Kochi Prefecture. Tokigawa incident. On October 6th, a 22-year-old man was lynched by a group in Aichi Prefecture, resembling the Osaka incident. He was abandoned in the bamboo forest of Tokigawa River, followed by the murder case and the Nagara River incident. On October 7th, 2 20-year-old men and a 29-year-old man were found on the Nagara River riverbed in Gifu Prefecture. 1 person was lynched by a group. 2 of the 3 were killed. 1 was injured in the 3rd Nagara River incident. The bodies of the 2 victims were found on October 8th, prompting a police investigation and immediate local crime prevention. These incidents were triggered by conclusive evidence such as camera footage and other decisive proofs. The criminals were 19 and Masayoshi Haga, 18. They were at the center of a delinquent youth group, as determined by the judgment. 2 of the 3 main culprits turned themselves into the police within the same month. The last one was arrested about 3 months later, on January 18th. Their disregard for life, their attitude of blaming the bereaved families, and so on. Please pay attention to this case. Now, let's get into the details of the Osaka incident. Kobayashi, Kosugi, and Hane were all members of the same violent gang, living off the money they extorted. The first incident occurred on September 28, 1994. In the bustling city center of Osaka, they committed violent acts with the intention of extorting 2 26-year-old men. One of the 2 victims managed to escape when he saw an opportunity, but the other was captured and taken to the office of a violent gang where they were staying. The 3 of them thought about pinning the crime on a construction worker and sending the victim to him. They tried to contact a construction worker, but they couldn't find one who would hire them. The 3 of them, frustrated and annoyed by the rejection from the construction worker, beat the victim with a belt. They doused his back with lighter oil and set him on fire. They stabbed his burned back with a ballpoint pen and committed a brutal and extreme lynching. After that, they thought about inflicting the next injury. The 3 of them decided to kill the victim so they wouldn't have to hand him over to the construction workers. They took turns wrapping a belt around the neck of the victim, who was lying face down, and strangling him. They pulled hard on both ends of the belt for about 30 minutes. They confirmed that the victim had stopped moving. Afterwards, they went about their usual business, eating at a local Chinese restaurant. They then visited the office of a senior member of the same gang to discuss how to dispose of the body. It was decided to take the body to the mountains in Shikoku. That night, the 3 of them drove to Akamatsu town, Kochi Prefecture, and dumped the body in the mountains. The body was not discovered until about 2 months later, by which time it had almost completely skeletonized. The autopsy revealed that in addition to a ruptured spleen, the victim had a broken left humerus and femur, indicating the severity of the violence inflicted before death. 2 days later, on November 1st, they were affiliated with the same gang. A gang member abducted 3 high school students, but they escaped when given the chance. One of the victims reported to the police. As a result, the Osaka Prefectural Police raided the office where they were staying overnight. That's what happened. When the search was conducted, the 3 who happened to be out thought they would be caught if they returned to the office, so they did not return and left Osaka. It was 5 days later, on October 6th, the trio escaped to Kobayashi's hometown in Aichi Prefecture. Kobayashi reunited with his old friends, and the group of 10, including Komori and Haga, indulged in drinking and stimulants. However, among them was someone secretly observing Kobayashi while using stimulants. This 22-year-old man had a strong grudge against Kobayashi because a woman he had been involved with in the past was forcibly taken by Kobayashi. Kobayashi, who noticed that he was being watched, immediately became angry and attacked this person, and Komori also attacked this man. Haga and others joined in, claiming the man's body was evil and that he prevented them from watching television. Kobayashi was attacked separately and the situation escalated into a group lynching. Kobayashi's group relocated to a parking lot linked to a friend's house and persisted with their violent activities. By that time, the man had been unconscious for over 7 hours. They tried to wake him up by setting a lighter on him, but he didn't respond. The three of them thought he would die if left like this, so they decided to dispose of him by dumping him in the nearby Tokigawa river. They immediately took action, but the river was overgrown with weeds and they couldn't reach it. The three of them couldn't dump him into the river. Let this be a warning. The man, who had a difficult life, was abandoned in the woods near the Tokigawa river. 6 days later, on October 13th, his decomposing body was found, making it hard to determine how he died. On October 7th, the Nagara River and Tokigawa incidents occurred. Kobayashi, Komori, and Hagino are friends. The 6 people, including the 3, are in Inazawa City, Aichi Prefecture. We were at a bowling alley, eager for money, and thought about robbing it. 6 customers at the bowling alley picked a fight with 3 men. They lured them outside, divided them into 2 cars, and drove away. Initially, they planned to release the victims after extorting money. However, Kobayashi convinced Komori and Hageyoshi that the victims would report them if released. So Komori and Hageyoshi decided to kill the victims. They sought a place with few people around. They took the 3 men to the Nagara River in Gifu Prefecture. Kobayashi and his group thought of using one of the 3 victims as a driver. They took the remaining 2 out of the car and brutally attacked them with aluminum, pipes, and lumber. After confirming that they were no longer moving, they left the scene. On October 8th, bodies were discovered in the Nagara River, prompting a police investigation at the scene. From the many footprints found at the scene, it was determined that this was a group assault committed by multiple individuals. Kobayashi moved to Aichi Prefecture and entered a convenience store. Abruptly, he told Komori and Hagane, "I want to part ways here." They were briefly confused, but Kobayashi increasingly made statements about killing his friends. He frequently clashed with Komori and Hagane. Kobayashi's statement was accepted by the 2, who took a Nagara River incident victim back to Osaka. Once there, they were unsure how to handle the victim's body. The victim, released on October 10th near Kintetsu Minami Osaka, provided testimony that identified the criminals. The group was immediately identified and 3 people were named. They immediately accepted this. On the 12th, Komori surrendered to Osaka Prefectural Police. Kobayashi turned himself in to Ichinomiya Police. On the 14th, Hagino was arrested. On January 18th the following year. In addition to these 3 incidents, all other associates involved were arrested. After that, the first public trial of the 3 defendants began. The 3 of them repeatedly denied their guilt, insisting that they were not the ringleaders. They showed no signs of remorse, and even laughed and provoked the bereaved families and the court. This attitude not only angered the bereaved families, but also the public. There was a reason why the 3 of them showed such a defiant attitude. They were minors. They believed the juvenile law would protect them from a death sentence. However, reality was bitter. In the trial, Kobayashi was sentenced to death, while Komori and Hagino received life sentences. The defendants, who got harsher punishments than expected, regretted their actions and wanted to atone by living. They claim to be reflecting on their actions, but it's seen as a way to reduce their sentences. The public and their families showed no sympathy. The defense attorneys appealed the sentencing, deeming it inappropriate, but the appeal was dismissed. The second half of the trial overturned the initial decision, sentencing all 3 defendants to death. Despite their further appeal, it was dismissed. On March 10th, 2011, the death penalty for all members was confirmed. And then in 2020, the 3 people who are now on death row are still requesting a retrial. They took the precious lives of 4 people in a terrifyingly calculated and brutal way. And even when they realize they would be sentenced to death, they show an attitude of extreme lack of remorse. No matter how much you are shocked, you can't say anything to these self-centered criminals. The violent acts committed for the purpose of money and the killing for the purpose of silencing are nothing but heinous crimes. I believe there are various opinions about the juvenile law, but I think that even if you are a juvenile or an adult, you need to atone for your crimes in the same way. I would like to express my condolences for the 4 people who have passed away. That's all for this time. Thank you for watching.